Hello YouTube family, thank you so much for joining and subscribing to my channel. I promise you won't regret it. We're gonna have a lot of fun going forward and you're gonna learn a lot. So if you stick around and you stay tuned, I will be pushing some future fashion content for you fashionistas out there that want to become a wardrobe stylist or a fashion designer. And I definitely want to inspire you and teach you things that I have learned along the way. So definitely stay tuned. The next company that I ended up working with, after I left that company, I started to do prom dresses, and people were approaching me for prom dresses and like baby shower dresses, and so I started to do that. And I wasn't the best at it, like, because I was working on, for baby shower dresses I was not an expert, so it was kind of hard to work with like pregnant women body changing, and it's all a learning experience for me because I had no clue about bodies really altering like the sizes of the dress and stuff like that. That was at the time. I know that it's like that's common sense, but when I was 19 and I was just like, okay, I need some money, and that sounds bad, but I loved making dresses and I didn't overcharge people. So I was like, I need money. This is what I do. This is what I am. I might as well start taking clients. And that's what I did. I took clients, and unfortunately, like, some things didn't go well. I can count on exactly 2 incidents that I had to refund the clients their money. And I did. I gave them all their money back. Because for me, I looked at things as practice. And I also felt bad that they trusted me with their garments and it didn't come out exactly how they wanted it to. So I still feel apologetic about that because I know how it feels to, like, for your event, you want to look good and then something doesn't come out the way that you want it to. So, but all I can do is be gracious for myself. Like I said, I apologized. I gave them their money back. And I was just a young seamstress and learning. Like, I made so many mistakes at that age, at that time, but I have gotten better over time, and I'm grateful for that. The mistakes that I made with those particular people, I actually quit. I was like so hurt that I like messed up on projects that I was like, I am not cut out for this. I do not want to design anymore. I don't want to make anybody's dresses. And so then I realized at the time I had some people talk me out of quitting. And so I decided to keep going. And I'm so happy that I decided to keep going. I actually realized my mistakes at the time that were made was that I didn't have a dress form. I know this sounds so crazy. I was making gowns without a dress form. And I was making, and then the ones that I was using, like, just like mannequin stuff and whatnot. I was doing whatever I could to get the project done. And it just wasn't ideal. And yeah, it was like, yeah, it's something that really brought me down, just spiritually, mentally. And but when I realized my mistakes, I was like, okay, I can't do this anymore. I can't. This is a lesson in itself. Don't promise people things that you can't actually get done, or give yourself time, and make sure you have the right tools to get these things done, because you don't want to give someone a messed up gown. And it wasn't messed up, it was just it was a sizing issue for both of the incidents that I'm speaking about. So there's that. So anyways, but I did have some really good things that turned out, which is why those people wanted to work for me in the first place. So I just didn't realize that I didn't have the right tools to make maternity gowns and to make any gowns that were bigger than whatever mannequin that I had at the time. Like, you have to form like things on mannequins. I know that now. I'm 31. But at the time, that was 11 years ago. I was 19 and I was not an expert. So, and I was not a master at my craft. I was still learning. So anyways, after I almost quit, so I decided to still take on side quests with clients who would come to me for still making prom dresses, and I still did baby shower uh, dresses, and then I would do alterations. People were getting married, asking me to help with their wedding gowns. So at that time, I did have that experience, that I gained all of that seamstress experience. So then I seen an ad. I was looking for work. I was like, you know what? I think it's, oh, y'all, I forgot I was doing my eyebrows. So I was like, I think it's time to get a job, like with someone. So I wasn't actively looking for work before, but I was like, you know what? I need to get something that perhaps I can, get some steady income from. So at this time, I was 20 years old. So some time had gone by since I dropped out of school, and since I had worked for the other company, and but which I was still doing New York Fashion Week events. I mean, yeah, with them. Like, I think that my last event was like just before I started working for Marquesa. So I was looking for work, looking for gigs, like little jobs or whatnot that I could do. And people don't believe me, but I literally was on Craigslist. And I was looking, because in Craigslist, there's like, you can look for jobs and then you can look for creative gigs. So I was looking for gigs. And so I knew about, just a little background, I knew about Marquesa before I worked for them, but this is gonna sound so ignorant of me, but I really didn't. Like, I would see their gowns all the time, and I would actually repost them, like the ones that I've seen, but I didn't know who the designer was. And and I just loved the gowns. So what ended up happening is I seen like an ad on Craigslist. They said they were looking for a design intern. So I was like, okay, like a studio design intern. And, it was listed everything that they were looking for. And at that time, I was like, what company is it? So I look up the company. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I know this company. Like, I love their gowns. I always repost their stuff. And I just didn't realize how big of a brand it was at the time. I know. But at that time, I just didn't realize it was that big of a clothing brand. But I knew they were big because like I seen Vogue repost them at the time. So I was like, okay. So I was like, you know what? This would be so cool if I could work for that company. But I might not get the job, but you know what? I'm gonna apply anyways. I am so happy that I applied. Let me tell you, you might not think that you're good enough to work for a major fashion design brand or media company. You might think that you're not qualified. But let me tell you something, apply anyways, because I didn't think I was good enough or qualified enough to work for that company. And 7 months later, yes, 7 months later, I got a response from Marquesa. I think it was a phone call, if I remember. And I thought it was fake. I was like, oh, this is on Craigslist. It's not real. I thought it was fake, y'all. I was talking to my old boss, who is now my friend. I was talking to my old boss. At the time, she called me and she asked me if I could come in for an interview. And it was around New York Fashion Week, September New York Fashion Week in 2016 or 2015, I think. Um, and I was like, yeah, of course. At the time, I wasn't working, and I was looking for work still. And I think I was, what was, no, I wasn't working at that time. So I was working with my church. Like, I spent a lot, I wasn't just like idle. I spent a lot of time working with my church. Also with my church, like I was gaining a lot of experience because my church was on Broadway and they did theater. So I was gaining a lot of like theater experience, and I was a part of the wardrobe team there, and I would help oversee and dress like cast of like 70 people, and it was in costumes and regular clothing. I was shopping, I was um doing seamstress where we were, it was like still even more experience. So right smack in Times Square. So oh yeah, so yes, so I'm like, yeah, of course I can come in for an interview. She's like, tomorrow is up, tomorrow, can you come in tomorrow? And I was like, yeah, I can come in. And I was like, okay, this is like really fast, but, and I wasn't sure it was real. I didn't think it was real. So I was like, I'm gonna show up anyways. Let's see if this is real. Hopefully it's not like, you know, because there's a lot of creeps on Craigslist. So I was just hoping that it wasn't somebody that was like gonna hurt me or anything like that. But I took a chance. I'm so happy I did. So the next day, I was staying in the Bronx at the time with my cousin, and then the next day, mind you, this is like a place where I didn't even dress up. Like I had at the time I had like a pixie cut. I had just recently cut my hair, and I wore a like interview clothing, like something like how Andy from The Devil Wears Prada did. And I didn't do it on purpose. It was just like my mindset. I was like, I please tell me why. I don't know why I wasn't thinking like, oh, I need to dress up as a fashionista in the way that I normally, you know, I was thinking business. That's where my mind was. I was like, I need to look professional and like I am there to work. And so I actually wore a plain white top, like a plain like business white professional white top, and some black slacks and some black flats. When I look back and I think about what I wore and who I was around, I am just like, oh my gosh, girl, you are crazy. When I first, let me just explain to y'all, the day that I came for the interview, there were celebrities in the fitting room. Like, I don't want to like name drop really, but I think like Gabriella Union was there, somebody else was there, and it was like this buzz around it because it was just after Fashion Week, and the buyers were there, and it was just like a lot going on, and I understand now why she needed an intern so quickly. So, oh my gosh, I show up with like just white top, black slacks, and when I get, so I get to the building. So at the time, Marquesa was located at the Starrett Lay building in Chelsea, which is on 26th Street and 11th Avenue, like all the way down. Very out the way of like the subway. Like I had to take the 7 from 42nd Street Grand Central, the 7 all the way to 34th Street, and then I walk from 34th Street to 26th Street, which is not a bad walk. It's not. And you know, keeps you in shape, strong calves, whatever. But like, there was really no train station that was like right there because like it's on 11th Avenue. If you know, you know, you're from New York City, then you understand what I'm talking about. So I'm walking towards the building. I did no research on the building. I was gonna say don't ask me why, but I'm gonna be honest. I was going through like something very personal that was very stressful at the time. So I think that I wasn't really like in my A game moment as far as like normally I would research a company. I would know everything about a company, and I would know about the building, but I just didn't at the time. I went in blinded, and I didn't think it was a real interview. Like, y'all, seriously, like, I thought it was a fake interview. So I was like, all right, let me see about this. Like, I'm just gonna go, and then, like, hopefully, like, no one tries to kidnap me. Oh my gosh, it didn't hit me until I got in the building. So I get in the building. I don't know what it looks like now, but at the time, I get in the building, and then it's just like this big, like, luxurious building. So I was like, okay, this is looking real. This is looking kind of real. So, and still it didn't hit me yet. Still it didn't hit me. So, I get into the building, and I had to go to security because you can't even go to the elevators without going through security. Like, they have the door stopper there. So, and security standing right there at it. So they asked me if I had an interview, and then, you know, they have to call upstairs and confirm your, like, not ask me if I had an interview, but like, if you don't have a pass to get in the building, like, you can't get in. So, and which I know why now, because that building is famous. Like, celebrities are there on a daily. It's very expensive to even rent a space in that building. Um, and like, literally, there was so many celebrities always in and out of that building. Like, you could bump into a celebrity at any day, any moment, any time, because besides Marquesa, like, Marquesa was next to Comme des Garçons. Listen, if you are a fashion Lisa, you know what that means, okay? Like, people were doing would rent their spaces to do designers, like A-list designers will rent spaces there to do their casting. So you would see like A-list supermodels there, like fashion runway models there. So yes, they had security. It was tied up. So they call, and I'm like, okay, like, you know, it's not like I've never been in a building that, like, you know, this, you know, I was in Manhattan all the time. I'm used to that. So I just still didn't think anything of it. I get there, right? So they confirm my interview, call upstairs, confirm my interview, let me through security. I get on the elevator, go upstairs. It's huge. Like, the floor itself is huge. Like, the space, the building is big in there. The hallways are huge. So I'm walking down the hallway, and I'm just like, there's like Canoe Studios, and I didn't know about Canoe Studios at the time, so I just walked by, and then I see Comme des Garçons, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, where am I? And I know that's not like the store. It was actually like, it's the like showroom. Oh my gosh. So I'm getting closer and closer, and then I see in gold letters Marquesa, and I'm like, that's when it hit me that it was real. That is when it hit me. And oh my gosh, I was like, then I got a little nervous, because I was not nervous until I saw the letters and I knew that it was real. And I was like, how did I get this interview? Like, how did this happen? So I go inside, and there's like a receptionist. It was like glass doors. It's very beautiful. There was like a chandelier there, and so I go inside, and I go to the receptionist, and I'm like, I have an interview, and I give them the person's name, who I'm not gonna mention, which I don't think she's gonna care if I say her name, but just for now, because I haven't like even cleared it with her, I'm not gonna say her name. But we are friends now. Anyway, so I'm like, I have an interview, and they're like, okay, like, let me go get her, so you can have a seat right there. So I'm sitting there, and like, I'm hearing all this commotion, which now I know the fitting room was right next to where I was sitting. So there was actually celebrities in there, and that's where they held like a lot of like big meetings. And when a celebrity or fashion models did come through, it was that room. So I was sitting right next to that room, so I kept hearing all this commotion, and it was very busy in there. People were like going back and forth from the which I know now, from the atelier to like the other side of the, which is like the PR people, and it was like all the departments was in the same place. So yeah, let me drink some tea. I'm sitting there and I'm just waiting, and I'm seeing people walk by and they're dressed really beautifully. And it was another woman that she was, I don't know if she was a student or something, but she was getting interviewed as well, and she was before me. So she came out and she looked fabulous. Like, she was dressed to the T. She was dressed up so beautifully, and she had like name brand on. And here I am sitting there with my white, like regular plain white. I'm not gonna lie, my shirt was like from somewhere really cheap. I think my shirt was like $10, and I had some. I mean, I looked like clean and put together, but I had a very cheap outfit on. So I was just sitting there and I was like, oh my gosh, you know what, whatever. And I had my resume printed out. I had photos of all the things that, the gowns and things that I worked on before. And I was just like, I'm still gonna do the interview. I didn't think that I was gonna get it, but I was like, what? It wouldn't hurt to still go in and try. So she came out. At the time, she was a studio manager, and so she came out and got me, and then we just did the interview right there. Like, we didn't go to her desk or nothing. Like, we did right there. So she sat down and she started asking me questions, and I just, you know, went, and she was very like serious. She was warm though. She was nice, but she was like very serious still. So I was a little bit nervous, but I was just like, all I can do is be myself. And that's what I did. So I was very honest with her, and I told her everything, you know, that I'm not working right now, but this is the experience that I have, and I'm not in school right now. So I'm able to, I have like a lot of free time, like I'm able to be here if needed. And so she loved me at that, and she was like, can you start tomorrow? And right there, like, I didn't have to wait. I'm losing a little bit of the sunshine, but I'm gonna keep going. I didn't have to wait for a response, or we're gonna call you, you know. She was just like, can you start tomorrow? And I said, yeah. What? Um, so I said yes, and that's where it all began. So it was unpaid. It was an unpaid internship, but I felt like it was worth it at the time, and it was. After interning for a bit, I actually was offered to be paid and to freelance there. So, and oh my gosh, so much happened. I went from interning to doing some freelance artwork to being the co-studio manager at Marquesa at the time. And I was paid when I started freelancing. And I was completely honest with them throughout my journey. After I did my free internship, I decided that I was going to have to walk away because, again, I needed money. So I was like, I'm gonna need to get like a job. And so I told them that I was leaving the company. They were like, no, what do you mean you're leaving? And I was just honest. I'm like, I need money. I'm so grateful for the experience I've had here. Like, I loved it. And I didn't want to leave, but they were like, we're gonna help you, we're gonna set you up. And they did. They set me up to get paid. And I'm still grateful and thankful for that to this day, because it was just such a dream. But anyways, yes, I started interning first. I was a studio intern, excuse me. And so I did a lot. I did anything from running errands to helping organize the studio as far as like patterns and gowns, and helping, you know, to help the PR department with lending out gowns and whatever blouses or garments that we had. I knew where everything was. So I started to become the go-to person because I helped organize that atelier from the bottom to the top. And I assisted in fittings, photo shoots, and I mean, like, we did photo shoots with Vogue. We did fittings for several different things. It would be for New York Fashion Week, for Bridal Fashion Week, for red carpet events, such as the Golden Globes, the Oscars, the Tonys, the Emmys, all the award shows that you can think of. The Met Gala, I have worked on gowns that were shown in those on those red carpets. And then there would be gowns that were lent out to Vogue for Vogue spreads material. Like, one of the people that I worked on a gown that was shown in Vogue was Taylor Swift. She did like a spread, and we lent out a gown for the spread. She wore different garments, and one of the garments was a Marquesa. A lot of the gowns and garments was seen in different magazines, so I was a part of that as well. I got to work directly with the Vogue team at the time. I'm not sure who's in place now, but at that time I worked directly with Vogue photographers and videographers, and it was really cool. That's all I can say. Like, I'm really happy that I got to experience that, and I had a great experience with them. Um, so anyways, that I had a very positive experience, and I'm gonna say with the most important people, because I had some very negative experiences with the other interns, and not all of them, because I had like some good friends that to this day like was still connected on LinkedIn, and I would still probably hang out with them if I could. We're all in different states, different countries at the moment, but I had some great experiences. If you want to hear about some of my negative experiences, comment down below and let me know, and I'll definitely share some things that have happened, just little intern on intern things, and even designer on designer things, and nothing to exploit the company. I had a lot of wonderful experiences, and I've had some bad experiences as well, but I count them all as a learning experience. So anyways, I'm grateful for the whole experience. I got a lot, when I say a lot of industry experience from working with Marquesa. And I was very young. I was 20 years old when I was asked to be the co-studio manager. That's a senior position. And so I'm not gonna say I did the best job at it, because I never been an atelier manager, and I never managed production to that height of responsibility. I just worked under someone that did, and I learned a lot from her, and I applied it when I was in that role. I didn't run it by myself. I say co-studio manager because I was running it alongside the production manager at the time and the head pattern maker. So I know that sounds strange, but they were looking for a senior person for that position, because that is a very senior position. If you are going to run an atelier, you need to know your stuff. You have to be an expert, because there's so much that goes into it. So much. It's not just running the atelier there. You have to be in connection with production. There's so many parts that goes into it. So a lot of people would look at it as a blessing, but it was a blessing, but it was also really hard for me. And it was something that at the time, I was not ready for, but I think that I'm so happy that they decided to trust me and even helping them in the role. but it was a lot, and there was a lot going on with the company at the time that I'm not going to talk about. But yeah, needless to say, it was a lot. So my main goal really was to become a fashion designer. So that did kind of take me off of that route from being another fashion designer's atelier manager, because when I took on that role, I wasn't able to work in the design part anymore, and that was the part that I loved. So I'm gonna say that I guess I didn't fully like that role, but to have your own business, that role, perfect. It taught me so much. I know how to run. I know how to run a fashion design company. So, anyways, well, it taught me a lot about product development and delegating work and just the chain of command. Like, so, anyways, after that role, I left Marquesa, and not on bad terms. I just realized it just wasn't the role for me. It wasn't the role for me. But I was in that role for a few months, like, and I had turned 21 when I left. I was just about to turn 21, so I was 20 years old. 11 years ago, guys. I'm 31. Whew. So after Marquesa, very shortly after I left Marquesa, I started doing, I needed money, obviously, so I started taking on clients again, and I had gotten better at this point with making dresses, and I started doing like side style shoots, which is how I started getting into styling. Interestingly enough, I was approached by a friend of mine who had recently gotten signed by Rock Nation, the record label Rock Nation, by Jay-Z. And she had been signed for a year, I believe, at that point. It was about 2017 now. And she approached a mutual friend of ours, and who set up the connection between us. And she approached me and asked me if I could be her personal stylist. And I was intrigued, obviously, because I had never worked with a record label. So that was different for me. I worked for a major fashion design brand house, and I had already done all of the shows and all of that. Like, I've already done all the major events, red carpet, New York Fashion Week, and so this was different. And what a lot of people didn't know is that when I was in Marquesa, and Vogue would have a stylist come in for the photo shoots. I would be at the Vogue shoots, and the stylist would be like fixing up the model, dressing the model up, putting the jewelry on and all the shoes and all the things. And I would watch the Vogue stylist with like amazement, and I thought to myself, which I never told anybody, I want to do that. I want to style. That looks so fun, because at the time I was a part of the garment process, like creating the garment, and which I loved, but I wanted to do both. So at that time, it was really cool to watch them, they put it on the earrings, because my kids had a jewelry line, and they would always do Louboutins. So putting on the Louboutins and fixing the model up, and it just looked so cool. Like, it looked glamorous. It looked exactly like what you see in the movies from the outside. But I come to find out that styling is not like that. I mean, it is, but it's not. There's a lot of work that goes into styling. Like, I'm gonna get into a wardrobe styling video after. I'm not gonna go too in detail on wardrobe styling. So stick around, subscribe if you want to hear about how I fully got into wardrobe styling. I know I started to share a little bit of it, but this video is pretty long and I wanted to touch base on fashion design, how I got into fashion design. So thank you. If you stayed this long, you're a champion. I obviously did not finish my eyebrows because I really can't talk and do that. Kudos to everybody that can do the get ready with me and like talk, but I can't do it. I tried. But stay tuned if you want to hear about wardrobe styling. I'm gonna do a whole video on that because I'm getting a little tired and I don't think I can go on talking about it. So save it for another day. So anyways, thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned, subscribe, okay? Subscribe, all right? I'm going to be posting more fashion content and I'm going to be giving free advice on all different topics. So stay tuned, okay? Anyways, love you guys. Have a lovely day and stay fly.